Today we're going to be talking about mortgage fraud. That's right. So Pulte, who runs FHFA, which controls Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, is obsessed with mortgage fraud right now. And from my perspective, I'm like, good, right? I've seen mortgage fraud in the industry for decades, and I am so delighted that somebody is finally cracking down. Like, it is really annoying as a lender to tell someone, hey, you can't do this, this isn't right, this doesn't meet guidelines, and then they talk to some dirtbag that just says, yeah, we'll make it work. You know, they think the dirtbag is a magician. No, they're a fraudster, and they're helping the client commit fraud. So the client may not even realize it's fraud. They could be like, oh, well, Jen said it's fraud, but they said it's not, and he's a magician. Yeah, guys, he's a dirtbag. If I'm telling you it's fraud, it's fraud. So first I'm going to read to you what Mr. Pulte is Xing about. Do we say that instead of tweeting? I don't know. Mortgage fraud happens when someone lies to influence a bank's mortgage decision. Common instances of fraud committed by borrowers and the mortgage industry professionals include providing false information regarding employment status, income level, or employer, misrepresenting the source of funds for a borrower's down payment, falsifying a borrower's credit score and/or outstanding debts and liabilities, misrepresenting a borrower's intent to occupy the property. That is the number one, and that is where people fight with me the most, just so you know. Providing false information concerning a borrower's identity, using inaccurate appraisal figures to misrepresent the true value of a property, obtaining multiple loans on a single property based on false information, providing false property information to secure or modify a loan, and misrepresenting income, hardship, or related information to halt foreclosure or influence a short sale decision. Woo, it's a lot, it's a lot. Now what's interesting here is, like, when I was reading through we're gonna call them X's, which sounds really messed up, but when I was reading through the X's, there were a lot of people that were scared. They were like, hey, I don't think I committed mortgage fraud, but how would I know? Because this list is like daunting. You know, you could look at this and be like, providing false information regarding employment status, income level, or employer. And you're like, oh my gosh, I put the wrong employer on the app. Did I commit mortgage fraud? Guys, here's the thing. If you're working with an ethical lender, like, we catch all of this, all of it. That's the thing, is like, sometimes I'll have really hard conversations with borrowers where I am drilling in, and they'll be like, you're very aggressive. And I'll be like, yes, I am. They'll be like, you're so nice on YouTube. Every time. Which videos did you see, right? I am nice. I want to help you, but I'm not going to jail for you. No, orange is not my color. I don't do pinstripes. I would get beaten up. It would not be a good vibe. I don't know. I might run the place. We don't know. I don't want to know. Anyways, but here's the thing. So in this X, you know, Pulte says borrowers and mortgage professionals, because with fraud, generally the mortgage professional is helping you commit it. It's that simple. You know, with occupancy, we hit this so much, it drove me nuts in 21 and 22. Where what was going on is people would call me, hey, Jen, I want to buy an investment property. Cool, I need XYZ down. Well, I don't have that, so what if I just say I live there? Well, that would be mortgage fraud, right? That's occupancy fraud. If you plan to buy a house and rent it out, but you're telling me on the application that you're going to live there, and you're only saying that so that you get a lower rate and a lower down payment, you're committing fraud. So look, I do a lot of business, and even if I didn't, like, once again, not going to jail, so I'm always going to push back, and I'm going to say, no, you just told me it's going to be an investment. We're not going to pretend you're going to live there. Are you going to live there? No. So we're not going to lie to do that. Go save XYZ and come back. And I've had it where people call me and they go, you were wrong. Oh, was I? You know, you were wrong. I went to XYZ lender and they closed it as owner occupied. Yeah, because they don't care if you commit fraud. They're happy to risk committing fraud as well. I am not, okay? And that's the thing. With a lot of this fraud type stuff, what happens is you talk to a lender like me, and I'm like, guys, you can't do that. Let's not do that. That's not a good idea. Or my team says, not doing it, right? And then you talk to another lender who's a dirtbag, and the dirtbag goes, oh, don't worry about it. Yeah. We can make it work. You're good. Nah, she's such a tightwad. That girl, that Jen, Guys, they're not a magician. They're a dirtbag. And what's been going on the last few years is that as the mortgage market has shrunk, right? You had 2020, 21, 22, like seriously, you could be the world's worst loan officer. You were still gonna close $20 million worth of loans. Like it was impossible not to. Rates were free, right? Well, all those people, when the market started getting harder, suddenly they're like, oh my gosh, how do I get business? So you have a lot of people committing fraud to survive, right? Stay away from it, okay? And if you're like, well, Jen, how can I make sure I'm not committing mortgage fraud? Be honest. Be honest. That's the first step, right? When you fill out your application, make sure you're reading it. I like people to do the online application. I hate doing applications over the phone because of fraud. I'm not kidding. That's one of the many reasons. Like, look, first of all, a lot of you like to do your applications in your pajamas at 2 a.m. And I respect that. I feel you. And I'm not going to talk to you on the phone at 2 a.m. Mama needs her sleep. But I also do it because I never want to be in a position where someone says, I didn't check that box that way. I didn't tell her that. Not playing that game. So when you're doing your application, read it. Make sure you're reading the declarations because that's where you see the most mistakes. And whenever we see something in the application that raises a red flag, my team doesn't just deny you, right? And there's a lot of that going on in the industry right now too, where if your credit score isn't perfect or, because everyone has algorithms that are trying to scrub the files and see if it's worth anyone's time to talk to. Everybody's worth our time to talk to. We love talking to you guys because a lot of times I may get an application over and I may see a red flag, but I'm going to talk to you about it because sometimes people just fill out applications wrong. A great example of that is one of the declaration questions is any of the down payment borrowed? And a lot of times people mark yes when they're borrowing it from their 401k, but that's not really borrowing it because it's your own money. Now, if you were borrowing it from Guido, the loan shark down the street, yes, you are borrowing a down payment and that's a problem. But if it's your 401k, you're not. So sometimes there'll be stuff that we think is a red flag, but after talking to you, we're like, oh, okay, you just filled it out wrong. We just want to verify this information is correct. Do we have permission to switch it to the correct answer? Yes or no? Great, okay? So fill out your application honest, right? And make sure you're answering the lender's question. Now, if a lender says something to you, like let's say it's usually when you're trying to buy an investment property, right? Let's say you're trying to buy an investment property and the lender's like, you just don't have enough money for an investment property, but if you live there, and you say, well, I'm not going to live there. Yeah, I can mark it as you live there, and then we'll do 5%, we'll do this, and you're like, oh, okay, well, is that, can I get in trouble? Oh, no one checks this stuff, it's fine. And you're going to pay your mortgage, right? They're only going to check if you don't pay your mortgage. No, no. So if a lender is encouraging you to do something that doesn't feel right, don't do it. And if you're like, I don't know, Jen, call us. Look, I tell you guys this all the time, whether you're working with me or someone else, truly, I am a consumer advocate. I've been through this process. I've seen the nonsense in the industry. I'm so sick of buyers getting hurt, homeowners getting hurt. It's just bullshit. So call us, tell us what's going on, and we'll be like, red flag, run, or we'll be like, yeah, that's fair, right? That's fair. For instance, another place that you'll see fraud is letters of explanation. So when a lender's putting together a file, sometimes they need a letter of explanation. We're always going to be asking you hey, this is the letter of explanation. Can you walk me through what's going on? And the reason is that sometimes, when you give a lender the letter of explanation, just keep it very brief. Keep it to the question. If you start writing essays, it just becomes problematic because you're putting in so much information that's going to overwhelm everybody. So we will call and be like, hey, we need a letter of explanation on this. I want to clarify, is this what's going on? Yes or no? Okay, great. please send us the letter of explanation. We do not write letters of explanation. We do not tell you like, well, yeah, you're not going to live there, but I just need you to say in the letter like, hey, to whom it may concern, I'm going to live there. Fraud. Don't do it. Don't do it, guys. Don't do it. So really be careful. Be honest. The other thing that's fraud that people don't realize, and it's one that I tell people all the time, if you are self-employed and a lender is telling you how to fill out your taxes or what you need to show in income in order to qualify for a house, it's considered fraud. Because what's going on is they're saying, hey, yeah, if you can make your taxes show 100K, I can do this house. Guys, fill out your taxes honestly and ethically. I say it all the time. I'll say, look, fill out your taxes honestly and ethically, period. There's been instances of mortgage lenders telling buyers to amend their tax returns. Yeah, self-employed buyers. Amend, meaning change their tax returns to show more income. Do you guys think underwriters are stupid? I mean, that's the funniest part about it. It's like we actually have a rule where if a tax return's amended, we can't even look at it. I think it's like 6 months for most loans. It's a lender overlay that our company has because it is such a big source of fraud. It truly is. So if a lender or loan officer is telling you to amend your taxes so you qualify for a house, walk away. You think they're being helpful, but let me just tell you this as well. I've had people call me where they're like, Jen, the loan officer had me change my taxes and I still don't qualify. I don't know what to do. I have to pay $40,000 in taxes now and I still can't buy the house. And I'm like, yeah, because they're not an accountant. They shouldn't be giving you this advice. So watch out for stuff like that. The last one that we see that I want you guys to be really careful about is if you're buying, let's say, a second home and it's going to be your vacation house and the lender goes, well, you don't really qualify for a vacation house, but if we list it as a rental and I use projected rental income, then you qualify. Guys, if you're not going to rent it out, that is fraud again. So here's the thing about fraud. Just be honest. Just be ethical. Don't play any games. If a lender sounds like they're playing games to make it work for you, do not work with them, okay? Because here's the scary thing about mortgage fraud. Mortgage fraud is punishable by up to $1 million in fines. Yeah. 30 years in jail. I'm not kidding. You get more time for being a white collar mortgage criminal than you do for being a murderer. 30 years. 30 years, guys, in jail. No joke. Seriously. So watch out for mortgage fraud. They're definitely investigating. I think what's going to happen is, do I think they're going to go after individuals? I mean, maybe if it benefits them. I think what we're probably going to see is we're going to see Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac push back loans. So what that means is they bought the loan from the lender, but they're going to be pushing them back to the lender, which will bankrupt some lenders for sure. If there's a lending company that's doing a bunch of fraud, if Fannie and Freddie pushes those loans back to them, making them repurchase them, they'll knock them out of the water. So I'm curious to see if that's what's going to happen. But look, I'm delighted that they're focusing on mortgage fraud. I think it is a good thing because the bottom line is this. Let me use the self-employed borrower as an example. If you have to lie on your tax returns about how much income you actually net to buy a house, you're not going to be able to afford that house. It's that simple. If you're like, Jen, I make 100K, my expenses are 50, but I'm just going to say there's no expenses. Cool, you're going to get into a house that you can't afford. So be honest, be ethical, pay attention. And if you have questions and comments, reach out, 786-933-2077. And if you just want to work with an ethical, no bullshit team that's going to get the job done, call us. Seriously, I'm licensed in 48 states. My team's in 50. You've got Christina in Rhode Island and Utah to close that gap of the 48 states because I'm still boycotting. But we're here for you, and we don't play those games. Thanks for watching.